Today we have with us the privilege and the pleasure of Mr. Manuel. Chris is the director of our Emerging Technologies Consortium, which identifies new research technologies among students and faculty and research associates that is relevant to the Navy and the Marine Corps. He's also the director of the new Central Coast Tech Bridge, the C2 Tech Bridge, that we will explore more in our interview. But it is sponsored by Naval X, and it is closely aligned with NPS and uniquely situated to become a leading Department of Navy and Department of Defense innovation hub. The C2 Bridge falls under the umbrella of the ETC and marries the new research ideas that we have here to capital, companies, and other universities to make these ideas a reality. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
You have such a rich biography that we're going to, I think, walk through it as we talk about you and talk about the work that you've done all of these years.
I've always been an ideas guy. Rover was one that actually kind of set things apart. So I started to look at our mission in Iraq in the first Desert Storm, and a number of the reconnaissance missions were compromised. So I looked at, well, why did that happen? I had never been called on the ground, so I figured that these guys must have done something wrong. That wasn't the case. The problem was an equipment shortfall. They were asked to identify a target, but they couldn't stand far enough away from the target. Spotter scopes, things like that, really hadn't changed much from Vietnam era. You can get a little farther away, but not the resolution that they needed. So I started to look at technology that was in adjacent markets to see if I could use it on the ground. And I started looking at drones. Well, Predator was very successful in Bosnia, so I got a chance to go out, talk to engineers, look at the capability was on there. Anaconda started off, and a friend of mine, Stan Harriman, got killed. So the project that I had here was actually named after him. Surveillance and Target Acquisition Network, STAN, was named after Stan Harriman. What I was looking at, a number of things. 38 pounds of lightweight gear when you're already carrying 100 pounds is a little bit too much. But this capability was so good that Colonel Scotty Miller said, hey, we don't need you out here with a weapon. We need you back thinking up more stuff like this. Well, Scotty Miller is now the 4-star in charge of Afghanistan. But I had met two professors from the Naval Postgraduate School while I was there, Gordon McCormick and Hy Rothstein, and they had told me, hey, if you do another one of these, why don't you come to NPS and do it and leverage the professors and the students and companies that are tied into NPS and do the next thing. So what I was really looking at was I was calling the next version of Rover.
Yeah.
But once I started attending classes and talking to professors and students and companies, the Rover concept evolved to almost what in today's terms, think about a cellular network with no infrastructure that was able to do movie map displays, video, chat, all of those things, and that was done here. So my first experiment that I did was out at the Marine Airport, and I actually achieved what I came here to do within the first experiment. But JSOC had people here and said, hey, we want to push this further. So we ended up doing 7 experiments, which in 1 year, my thesis advisors at the time were Dave Netzer, who was the Dean of Research, John Arquilla, who is still here, and Alex Brodetsky, who is still here. Yeah. So the 3 of them were my thesis advisors. We went from something that was a concept when I first got here to actually a prototype that was ready to transfer by the time that I finished. We have 2 projects that I think are really interesting that I think, one, we're enhancing education. In fact, I would say we are super accelerating education with the student teams, but there's 2 of them that are going on. So one of them is taking a capability for object recognition and making that where it's autonomous and it's automatic. So we've got 4 students, 3 special forces and 1 Air Force special operations that's working on a project that will take a drone and it will take the feed from a drone, and we're building, and when I say we, The students actually came up with this. This is not my idea. I just see the business side of it. So they came up with this idea of basically a black box that will work with a system, and it will identify a weapon or an object, and will cue the user to make them look at the screen. And the second one is, we are calling it, for lack of a better name right now, both of these are being worked with Alex Burdetsky and student teams. So this other one is Remote Render Safe, which is a robotic arm that's developed by SRI International. So they have this arm, and because of my background with demining, this was the first thing I thought about. Well, we can use this for rendering safe a unexploded ordnance or mine. Well, the students saw it and said, this can be used for telemedicine. So we are now shifting this capability to a telemedicine capability. We've got 3 students that are working on this project, are going to write their thesis on it. And then there is a doctoral candidate, PhD student that's coming in, and he's already said, I'm going to do this on telemedicine. So Alex and I are looking at an architecture that takes a high technical readiness level satellite bus capability and put it on a dirigible with very low latency, much like what I had with my system that's here, that will allow through haptics a surgeon or doctor to be able to do remote surgery on the battlefield.